I guess devotees are from different stations. Is that correct? Some of you are in India, some, where else are you from?
Almost almost
Pardon?
everybody from Pakistan, Maharaj. Only
Most
I am the
Pakistan.
only exception. Maybe a couple of exceptions. Myself, Abhinam, and Krishna Priya is from Dallas. Otherwise, yeah,
Are you
Aarti
sitting in
Maji is
Dallas?
from
You're sitting in Dallas.
yeah. Aarti Maji is sitting in where you are sitting now? Yeah, in Canary Island in Spain.
Canary Islands. Who's
Yes,
from
in
Canary
Canary Islands.
Islands?
In
Who?
Lanzarote.
Somebody's from Canary Islands. Amazing. Oh, Artie, you're from Canary Islands. Wow, there's one or two others from other places, I think, but not many. Mostly Pakistan, huh? Symptomatic of this age, how the ladies are much more, I don't know, naturally inclined towards spirituality in this age in the West. And now it seems like also in India. But what to do? Doesn't matter, we're all spirit souls. So we'll start off with some kirtan and a little bit, and then we'll. Interesting topic. Did you choose the topic, Bima? Who chose the topic? Is it like a
Yes,
regular?
Maharaj, it's uh, by mischief. Sorry,
Oh, you did
by
that.
mischief. Sorry, Maharaj.
Take. It's kind of interesting. But Sankirtana in the Bhagavad Gita. I kind of tried to rack my brains a little bit to kind of dig a little deeper than usual, you could say, into the inner or slightly. I mean, how far we can go is only a little bit, but a little bit deeper understanding of what it means. Sankirtana in the Bhagavad Gita can be seen in many ways. So we'll try to go a little bit there today, since you've given that topic as the title of today's discussion. But first, every program should have proper would start with a little kirtan, almost without exception. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvasesha Dunyavari Pastatyaresha Tarine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvasesha Dunyavari Pastatyaresha Tarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gauravatavindam Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakti Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Bolo Bolo Bolo, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Shri Prabhupada. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Om
Correct.
Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya. Ashtota Sadishra A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Haridas Thakur Namacharya Haridas Thakur ki jai. Anantakutta Vaishnavinda ki jai. Praying to Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasti Gaur Bhaktivinda ki. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakund Radha Kundgiri Govardhana ki Vrindavan Dham ki Mayapur Dham ki Jagannath Puri Dham ki Ganga Maya ki Jamuna Maya ki Tulsi Deva ki Bhakti Deva ki Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda ki Lord Chaitanya's Harinam Sankirtan ki Brihat Madanga ki Gauda Premanandi, all glorious to the assembled devotees, all glorious to the assembled devotees, all glorious to the assembled devotees, all glorious to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga, all glorious to Srila Prabhupada. Excuse me. We do. Old age, tiredness. I'll tell you, I haven't had very much to do with brothers, sisters, nieces, nephews, whatever, in Pakistan. But I did touch base in Pakistan once in my life, and it was in 1979. Of course, I don't think there was much establishment of Krishna consciousness at that time, not much, if any. I didn't really, I know it's only because the plane transited in Karachi. So I spent like 12 hours in Karachi in 1979. Other than that, I've never stepped on the soils of Pakistan to my knowledge, at least not in this lifetime. However, about 15 years, I mean, it's impossible to say exactly, but I would guess within a year or two, 15 years ago, I was in Krishna Bara Mandir in Sri Vrindavan Dham, and His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj came up to me. Maybe some of you are disciples of Gopal Krishna Maharaj, I don't know. But he came up to me in the temple. And he said, Maharaj, I have a request of you. Can you please go to Pakistan? And I said, Maharaj, I really appreciate your offer. But I'm visiting 17 countries a year and at least 70 temples regularly per year. And he was kind of shocked. He said, oh my God, that's more than me. So he dropped the idea, and that was the end of that. I'm not doing that anymore because, 15 years time and we're, somewhat advanced in age and it's not possible to travel like that anymore. But let's see. Anyway, my heart is with you today there. I guess you're from different parts of Pakistan. I know many devotees live in Karachi, but probably other places too. So we're with you today on, what do we call it? What do you call it? What type of internet? What would you call it? It's not virtual association. I don't know what you call it. Huh? Oh, well, yeah, the literal method is Zoom, but it's got a generalized term that we're associating with each other in this way through modern technology somehow. So thank you for your association. So anyway, let's look at the topic on the table today. Thank you. Can you hear me, Bima? Can you hear? Audible?
Loud and clear, Maharaj.
It's okay. One of the factors of New Mayapur is that technology is very unreliable here. So we hope that keep your fingers crossed or whatever you have to cross. And we hope that it keeps going for the duration of time. Let's see. And you see Govardhan Hill behind me. I'm not, that also is virtual, if you want to call it that. It's a, what do you call this, screen behind on the computer. Better than seeing some office picture or something. So Om Jnana Timirandasya Gnanjana Shalakaya Chakshoramritam Yena Tasmai Shri Guru Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupagatamaham Dadati Shvapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raganatan Vitang Tang Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostite Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Suti Devi Paramami Hari Priye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhivyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. I guess the husbands are all at work, are they? Ladies? Are they working? Or are they lazy? It's work time, I think, over there, probably, because evening time over here. Or you're ahead of us. No, no, you're ahead of us, right? I think you're 3 hours
Maharaj,
ahead.
most
Huh?
Maharaj, most of them are unmarried.
Huh?
Large majority of them are unmarried.
Unmarried. I see.
Yeah, a large majority of them are unmarried.
They are still free to practice Krishna consciousness, huh? Well, married or unmarried, what doesn't matter. Whatever you are, Krishna is for everyone. Bhagavad Gita is for everyone. We just have to see it according to our situation from different angles. Anyway, Hare Krishna. So, Sankirtan in the Bhagavad Gita. Well, let's have a look first of all. I was a little interested. I looked at some of the definitions Prabhupada gave of Sankirtan in different places throughout his books, throughout his lectures, and so on. And in many ways, it's almost like developed the very simplistic understanding what Sankirtan. We'll go to Bhagavad Gita in a minute. But first of all, if we're going to talk about Sankirtan in the Bhagavad Gita, we should have a little understanding what Sankirtan means, I think. Many times we go into conversations, we don't fully grasp the concepts which are being discussed, and we try to make decisions on subject matter. We don't really have a deep understanding of the actual words or the concepts or what the other person means. So there's many ways we could look at Sankirtan in the Bhagavad Gita. So you could probably think of so many ways. But we'll look at today some of the direct meaning, indirect meaning, and within the category of indirect meaning, we'll probably see there are quite a few practical. There's a practical approach. There's a conscious approach in what we do. There's many different ways that we could look at that aspect of the Bhagavad Gita, of Sankirtan in the Bhagavad Gita. But we'll just go into a little bit of a definition of Sankirtan. So the simple level, a simple meaning rather, if we look, for instance, in the 7th canto, 15th chapter, text 71, Prabhupada says Sankirtan means chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Pretty simple. Huh? That was all that Prabhupada said there. Okay, we'll move forward. Now, this is a lecture Prabhupada gave in the first 68. And it's funny, these statements, I think they all progress in age without exception. They're all going forward in time, except for one, which is a little different aspect. But this is the first one, that Sankirtan means chanting the holy name of the Lord. In 1966, in a lecture Prabhupada gave in September in New York, first year, you could say, of his preaching, Sankirtan means Bahubir Militva Kirtayati Ti Sankirtanam. When we sit down, it means many people gather together to perform chanting. So now it brings in sitting down, bringing people together. At that time, the devotees were not they weren't necessarily dancing. Everyone was sitting down. The dancing really started when the devotees went to Tompkins Square Park, and that was in October. So the next one, this is in a little later in September 1968. Prabhupada says, oh yes, just give me a second, I'm going to have to do something on the screen here. Oh yes, everyone, Sankirtan means assembly, which we just mentioned. That is the derivation. That's what we get from the verse, which we just heard in Sanskrit, was Bahubir Litva. So when many people, now it's many people assemble together and chant, that is called Sankirtan. More or less the same as the previous one. But then Prabhupada says, if you alone chant, that is called Kirtan. And when you chant in assembly, that is called a Sankirtan. So Sankirtan is assembly together, chanting the holy name, glorifying the Lord. And then in the same year, I think, let me see if I can scroll down. I'm just reading something here. Prabhupada says, this is in 71, not the same as 71 by the looks of it. Yes, 71. In Gorakhpur, Srila Prabhupada was lecturing. He said, Not only the chanting of Hare Krishna mantra is called Sankirtan, of the holy name of the Lord, but here it is said, Guna Karma Namnam. Sankirtanam Bhagavato Guna Karma Namnam. Not that when you read Krishna, the book, which is full of Krishna's activities, that is also Sankirtan. That is also Sankirtan. Sankirtan does not mean simply chanting the holy name of Krishna. Sankirtan means you discuss Krishna's activities. That is also Sankirtan. That is not different from Sankirtan. In the actual verse, Guna Karma Namnam, refers to the names, the qualities, and the pastimes of the Lord. And then a little later in 1971 in Delhi, Srila Prabhupada wrote a letter from Delhi, not in Delhi exactly, but he wrote his letter when he was in Delhi to a devotee in America, 1971. Prabhupada said, Sankirtan means preaching. So if you're regularly holding classes, street Sankirtan may be postponed until the proper time. So now we're bringing classes is also Sankirtan. Reading is also Sankirtan. And remembering Krishna's pastimes, at least talking about them, is Sankirtan. Chanting is also Sankirtan. And we move on a little bit further, and this is a letter in 71, even later than no, it's on the same day. Prabhupada wrote in December, in the same day. I don't know if we need to do that. Okay, he adds a little bit to the previous one, and where he says, Sankirtan means preaching. So for some time, try in other ways to spread our Krishna philosophy anywhere and everywhere by selling books, as many as possible. So not only bringing in now book selling of books, distributing books is also Sankirtan. By holding kirtan and classes in schools and colleges, going out in public and sharing whenever we can the message of Krishna consciousness. Wherever there is preaching, that is Sankirtan. Prasad distribution is also Sankirtan. Sankirtan in general, we can say, means to glorify the Lord in a congregational manner. That's just a summation of the normal. The Sankirtan means complete glorification. Complete, the word san usually means in association. It also can mean, there are different meanings, but generally it means in associating together. But it can also, when we say complete, that can be referred to in association together. It can also refer with everything. It can refer to everything we do should be an act of Sankirtan, not just when we chant. I mentioned actually earlier on this afternoon, talking to one devotee about preaching. And in Europe, you may never have heard of them, but there's a very famous saint. Even Prabhupada said the personality was a saint. He said he was a self-realized, Prabhupada said this, he was a self-realized soul, a Christian. His name was Francis of Assisi from Italy. And one famous quote, many quotes are there, very much in akin with this particular subject matter. St. Francis of Assisi said one time when one of his followers asked him, when we go to preach, they had no cars or airplanes in those days, should we walk? Well, they could also go on a mule or some other methodology, I guess, a horse or something. And for some reason they asked this question. And he answered, if your walking is not preaching, then you shouldn't go anywhere. In other words, everything you do should be in the mood of Sankirtan, should be in the mood of glorifying God. We don't go places to glorify God. We live for glorifying Krishna. This is the mood in everything we do. And I think by now you can see an easy connection with the Bhagavad Gita. Another quote here. The quote, no, it's just a statement. The word kirtan is related, and you probably know, to the word kirti. Kirti means fame. So broadly speaking, kirtan means to make famous, to make Krishna famous by any means possible. So even same thing as the previous point, to expand on not just the chanting, but in everything you do to make, I mean, even behaving nicely with people, even that, in one sense, you're walking your talk, as they say in the West. People are affected by that. And when you speak, then they take it a little bit more respectfully. Kirtan means sometimes chanting with music and sometimes speaking. Both of them are kirtan. Kirtiyati kirtanam. Whenever we glorify the Lord, that is called kirtan. The Srimad Bhagavatam reading is also kirtan. That's yeah, that verse. Abhavad by Asaki Kirtane Chaitanya Charitamrita. See if there's anything else adding to that. From Kirtan. The endeavor, I just mentioned one thing here from Bhakti Vinod Thakur. The endeavor of Sankirtan is to call out the holy names of the Lord. And here's a nice additive, with heartiest feelings, from the heart, acting from the heart. Now, before I forget, which I will definitely forget, I'll mention one aspect of Sankirtan in the Gita here. It's not the one we're going to focus on particularly, and if we have time, we'll go back to it. But just in case we don't go there, in the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, there's an extremely important section. Every verse is, you're Bhakti Sastri students, so every verse of Bhagavad Gita is spiritual and is absolutely important. It's not just something we jump over. Every word has significance. But in the 18th chapter, maybe I can go there rather than just speaking what I remember. Let's see if I can find some verses here. And I'm sure many of you are quite familiar with the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. I'll read from By Krishna's Grace. We open the page straight on it. This is text 56 of the 18th chapter, if you wish to look at it. And then we'll try to link this with the meaning of Sankirtan, based upon some of the statements which we just heard. Text 56. Though engaged in all kinds of activities, my pure devotee under my protection reaches the eternal and imperishable abode by my grace. So this is the subject matter of this particular part of the Gita, basically. Krishna then goes on to say, in all activities just depend upon me and work always under my protection. In such devotional service, be fully conscious of me. If somebody's unmuted, is there a reason you're unmuted? Maybe you have a question or a comment? No? Try to unmute if you can, if you don't have any reason to be muted. No, try to be muted. Unmuted. Yeah, try to mute if you're unmuted. If you become conscious of me, Krishna says, you will pass over all the obstacles of conditioned life by my grace. If however you do not work in such consciousness, but act through false ego, not hearing me, you will be lost. Can't you relate that to kirtan sometimes? When you're performing Sankirtan, being conscious of Krishna. Acting through false ego. We get this particularly during japa, no doubt. But it could be through any activity that we do. In all that you do, Krishna says, be conscious of me. This is the mood. Sankirtan, we usually take it as being an activity. And it is, in one sense. Mostly we heard. But on the last statement we heard there was heartiest feelings. Now, heartiest feelings are not just some emotional passion which we try to enjoy. It goes deeper than that. It's the very attitude of our life, the attitude in which we work. And really, the Sankirtan is in that mood. If it's in the mood of the activity, we may do it, which is, of course, has benefits. But if it's done in a way of wanting to get something out of it, if it's done in the mood of we want to enjoy, if it's done in the mood of, whatever, something self-centered at least, then it's not really Sankirtan. It's like a reflection or shadow of Sankirtan. Sankirtan is really Sankirtan when it's really focused on Krishna for his pleasure, glorifying his name, form, qualities, and pastimes. Conscious, heartiest feelings. Yeah, of course, we're working towards chanting for the pleasure of Krishna, not for our own pleasure. This is Sankirtan. This is one aspect which we'll cover it now instead of dropping back. So this is what Krishna's talking about here in the Bhagavad Gita. In all your activities depend upon me. So when we chant Hare Krishna, we should also be in this mood of dependence upon the Lord. Being conscious of the Lord when we chant. It's not just during japa. So we take the word Sankirtan. Even when we sit together, or online, if we have japa sessions online, it's actually a form of Sankirtan. Because technically speaking, japa is not an activity. It is a silent chanting of a mantra. It's the actual definition. Most murmuring a mantra. Kirtan is, as we heard from Prabhupada, is when we chant aloud on our own. And Sankirtan is we chant aloud with others. And generally, for whatever reason, our spiritual master has given us Vachika Japa. And Vachika Japa is japa, but at the same time, it can fall into the category of Sankirtan or Kirtan. So either one, whatever we're doing, we also, Kirtan is, or Sankirtan, sometimes broken up into bhajan. Bhajan means worship. It's not necessarily an activity. It can be anything we do in our lives, daily worship, looking after our family, our work that we may undergo in our daily lives. Everything can be an act of worship, an act of Sankirtan. Everything is the consciousness in which we work. When we see it in relationship with Krishna, when we see it in the glory of Krishna's energy working in our daily lives, and try to share that with others as much as we can. This is Sankirtan. It's a state of consciousness. If we really have understood from the Bhagavad Gita, but now there's another aspect which we'll mention now, because we'll probably forget it later on, is that the Bhagavad Gita is like a foundation for Sankirtan, a preparation. Now we see in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna was very hesitant about performing his duty. Not very hesitant, he declined. He completely rejected the idea of fighting on what we could say were good grounds in one sense. He was not prepared to fight. But when he heard the Bhagavad Gita, the statements of Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, step by step, all of Arjuna's doubts were removed. And at the end of the Gita, we see that Arjuna says, yes, now my doubts are removed, and now I'm prepared to act according to your direction. Exactly. And this is the result of actually understanding the essence of Bhagavad Gita and applying it in our work, applying it in our lives. Once we have that knowledge, and then if we apply that in our lives, then transformation will take place. Sankirtan is meant for transformation. It's meant to change our consciousness from seeing ourselves in the center to seeing Krishna in the center. So this is emphasized here in this particular section of the 18th chapter of the Gita, is the consciousness in which we work, not just the work we do. Much of Bhagavad Gita is focused on the work which we do. But here we see, because we're coming to the conclusion of the statements of Krishna to Arjuna, that the consciousness, Arjuna, act in this consciousness of me, depend on me, depend on my mercy. These are signs of surrender. Sankirtan is the process of surrendering to Krishna. And the Bhagavad Gita is ultimate instruction of Gita, Sarvadharma Pratyagya, to surrender to him. Give up all other shelters. Just totally surrender to Krishna as our only, depend entirely upon Krishna. And if we don't do that, Krishna then says, if we follow our own, let's say, whims, we're going to be lost. Krishna says here. Where is it? Anyway, I think we just read it. If you do not act according to my direction and do not fight, you will be falsely directed. By your nature, you will have to be engaged in warfare. I think we just mentioned the previous one. However, you do not work in such consciousness, but act through false ego, not hearing me, you'll be lost. Not hearing me. This is another aspect here. When we chant Hare Krishna, do we hear Krishna? Or are we just mechanically chanting, whether kirtan or japa or whatever it is in our service itself, practical things we have to undergo? Are we hearing Krishna or not? If otherwise, we can be lost. Is the consciousness dependence upon Krishna? We can't control our minds, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, I think, or Bhaktivinoda, I can't remember, states that it is impossible. One of the aspects of Bhagavad Gita, if we look in the 6th chapter, is how Arjuna was challenging Krishna. It's impossible to control my mind. It's more restless than the raging wind. What you're asking me. Of course, he was asking him to perform pranayama and Ashtanga yoga and this and that as a means of perfection. Not possible, he said. Raging wind. Krishna says, yes, it is possible. It's difficult by practice and detachment. But the point is that it depends a little bit more, as these verses in the 18th chapter infer, depending upon Krishna, depending on his mercy. It's not a mechanical process. Krishna consciousness ultimately it's all about surrendering to Krishna, taking shelter of Krishna. So one of them, Bhaktivinoda Bhaktisiddhanta says, writes, it is impossible for the jiva to individually or independently control their mind. It is not possible to independently control their minds. It's only possible, he says, by the mercy of Krishna. Therefore, one should fervently pray, call out, use the word, call out for the mercy of Krishna. This is the only means of becoming free of this illusion of distraction. So we try, Mother Yasoda tried to tie Krishna up, but it's only when Krishna agrees to be tied that he appears to be tied. So our effort is at least to try to be conscious of Krishna, all we do. And even in difficulty, I mean, some of you are not in easy situations. And, I really sympathize with the situation that some of you are in. We're also not in the easiest situations here, you could say, in many ways. Some ways easy, in some ways not. It's the same everywhere. There are challenges everywhere in this world for everybody. Naturally, there's difficulties that come our way, anxieties and stresses and so many things. But this is the process. Even in difficulties, sometimes difficulties are favorable because they help us to really take shelter of Krishna as no other shelter. So this is the real essence of Bhagavad Gita, to completely take shelter of Krishna, to be conscious of him in our life. So that's one angle. Now, let's look at a more direct aspect of the statements here. Oh my goodness, I just dropped the page. I'm flicking through the Bhagavad Gita. Let me see. This will be in the 9th chapter. I don't have the verse mark, but we hope that we can find it. I think it's here. Here it is. The 9th chapter, text 14. If you do have your Bhagavad Gitas, it's good to refer to them. When Srila Prabhupada was on an airplane traveling one time, he asked his servant, Prabhupada said, read the verse. He was quoting a verse, he was talking to somebody, don't know who. And he said, read the verse. Before he didn't have a Bhagavad Gita. And he said, Prabhupada told him, you should always carry a Bhagavad Gita wherever you go. Sankirtana. But any time you may read it to yourself. Sankirtana is also including ourselves. Or we may read it with others, or quote something. Prabhupada said every good Christian always carries his Bible, and maybe Muslims carry the Quran. I've met many who do. And maybe they don't generally do, I don't know. But it's a good idea, at least with the Gita. You have different reasons they do or don't. Maybe they don't. But Christians definitely do carry their Bible. But Prabhupada said we should carry our Gita. And so that any time when you're having difficulties, for instance, you refer to the Gita. Your mind starts to go a little bit haywire for whatever reason. You can open up the Bhagavad Gita. Even Mahatma Gandhi said that whenever he feels some doubts or questions come in his mind, he opens up the Bhagavad Gita and he's completely satisfied. His questions are answered. Everything is there in the Gita. All the answers to all the problems are there. So Bhagavad Gita is a written form of Sankirtana. And it's the foundation, you could say the Sambandha Gyan. Of course, in Bhagavad Gita is also Abhideya Gyan and also Prayojana Gyan, the ultimate goal of spiritual life, the practice of spiritual life. But primarily we have to get the understanding of the various truths of the soul, our relationship with God, the nature of time, the nature of karma, and the nature of Prakriti, material energy. These are the 5 main topics of the Bhagavad Gita. So this is Sambandha Gyan, which threaded throughout the Bhagavad Gita. And then the Abhideya, leading up to complete surrender to the Lord. And then Prayojana Mamana Bhava Bhakta, you could say, like that. So everything's there in the Bhagavad Gita, and this is the whole purpose of the Sankirtan movement, not just to have a good time, whatever, freed from karmas and so on, but to actually awake within one's heart is feelings, but beyond and above that, to awaken prema, love of God. So I'm going to read a direct one now, a direct reference in the Gita. This was quoted by Prabhupada on at least one or more occasion, maybe, but at least one occasion, when one challenged Prabhupada about where is it mentioned, and you say so much that we should chant the holy name of God, but where does Krishna say that? Well, primarily, as we see in the Vedas don't talk an awful lot about pure bhakti, because they're mostly aimed at people within the material world. It's to gradually elevate them towards that platform where they can perform pure bhakti. As long as we're, absorbed in this material world of lamentation and hankering, sochiti and kankshati, then it's very hard to come to really understand even what pure bhakti is, what to speak of perform it. Generally not possible. The false ego is very strong. And similarly, we understand that those who are too much attached to sense gratification, they don't have the focus to engage in devotional service, steady devotional service. And those who are still sinful, whose sinful reaction not been worked out, they can't really engage in. And those who are envious, at the end of the Gita, Krishna says they can't really understand. We can't even explain it to them. They just can't digest it at all. Those who are envious, those who are not interested in devotional service. And in the which chapter, maybe ninth chapter, I don't know. Krishna says those miscreants, lowest amongst mankind, those whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and the atheistic class of men do not surrender unto him. They're not interested. And those who do, the pious, the inquisitive, and those who are suffering, and those who are, aspiring for knowledge and so on, even they have ulterior motives. So their performance of pure bhakti will be tinged on the right direction. They may start the process of surrendering to Krishna, no doubt about that. But most people don't, and they can't understand this. So the Bhagavad Gita is to try to help people to come around to understand these various basic understanding of Sambandha Gyan. That, how the material world works. We're not the controller, we're not the enjoyer. It doesn't belong to us. That the material energy is working under Krishna's direction, that time is the manifest, if you want to call it, form of the super soul, guiding everything, creating and destroying everything. And everyone in this world is trapped in karma and in illusion about their identity. So the Vedas mainly deal with those type of subject matters to try to help the living entity to progress to a platform where they can actually begin to understand what spiritual life is, and specifically what bhakti or devotional service is. All that's very well and good, but in Kali Yuga we know how difficult it is. People's memories are wretched. They're they're short-lived, quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, and above all was disturbed. They're very difficult for people in Kali Yuga to sit for long. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the most merciful form of Krishna, and as Prabhupada says, after Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita, everything's there. But who follows? Who's surrendering to Krishna? Who's following the Gita? So therefore the Lord came again as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to give the process of surrender. The Sankirtan movement is the goal of Gita is to surrender to Krishna, to always think of him, to go back to Godhead. But who's doing that? Apparently no one. So Prabhupada emphasizes how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore has come to make that. He's not even saying surrender to him, he's just saying chant. Chant the holy name. And one can achieve through the cultivation of the chanting of the holy name the essential purpose of the Bhagavad Gita. Through chanting. But Prabhupada said both should be there. We should also understand hear the Bhagavad Gita and other Bhagavatam, of course, but understand this foundational knowledge, because otherwise we can easily get disturbed. Not necessarily disturbed in the sense that the mind wandered, but by, challenges which come our way, even philosophical ones, family sentiments, various things, which may block our conviction in devotional service or challenge it. And without some basic understanding of the knowledge behind it, it's not just a sentimental process, but it's based on the highest truth. Sankirtan movement is the highest truth, and it includes the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. So let's read a direct inference when Prabhupada then quoted reference from the ninth chapter, text 14. Tatatam kirtiyanto mam yatantascha dridavataha namasyantascha mam bhaktya nityayuktu upasate. So this is the verse quoted. In the word for word, there's a word, second word, in fact. Always. Satatam is always. Kirtayanta. So kirtayanta. Kirtayanta refers to chanting. It's the same like kirtan. Kirtana. Kirtayanta. Coming from this word, kirti, to make famous, but this way, kirtayantaha, chanting. And the translation probably gives us, always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. But always chanting his glories. Now, another aspect here is that it's not that you chant his glories and then you do something else. While you're doing something else, you use your common sense, time and place and circumstance. But whenever possible, we should also be chanting Krishna's glories, not only internally, but externally also. We can chant the holy name in many cases, maybe not all, but in many cases, when we're cooking, when we're cleaning, when we're looking after the babies, if we have any babies, when we're walking to wherever we're going to, using common sense, depending on where you are. But we can actually use our tongue, helping more than we do in glorifying Krishna. And this is the process, as the Bhagavad Gita has the same thread, to transform. Arjuna was transformed away from Atmendriya to Krishnendriya. It transforms us from the self-centered nature of seeing us in the center to seeing Krishna in the center. That's why Sankirtana is even more effective. When many people come together, it's like spinning around and we're going into the center together. This is the process Lord Chaitanya has given us, Sankirtan, congregational chanting primarily of the holy name, fame, pastimes, and qualities of the Lord. So that automatically includes Bhagavad Gita, his teachings, or Sankirtan. So in this way, where are we going here? Okay, we're going to read a little bit from the purport from that verse. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. Some people will say this is practically the only reference, because we don't understand the deeper meaning of Sankirtan and what the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita is. Its purpose, the fruit of the Bhagavad Gita, if we really understood it, is that we'll always be chanting. Prabhupada says remembering Krishna means chanting his names. This is the process of remembering him for Kali Yuga, particularly. Although it may be a little hidden, because people are, whatever they may be, not ready, whatever it may be. They need some conviction first and some knowledge first. Don't have to have. And if you don't have it, jolly good. Good on. You're a lucky soul in one sense. But you want to have the knowledge. That's for sure. We want to know more about Krishna. We want to know how to live our lives for his pleasure. Sankirtan is really, in essence, the whole spiritual world is nothing but Sankirtan. Everything is for Krishna's pleasure. Everyone is glorifying Krishna. In this world, hardly anyone's doing it there. Indirectly, maybe, but mainly they're glorifying. Prabhupada, when he was in Ohio, and there were many people chanting and dancing, he quoted, oh yes, they pray, my dear Lord, give us this day our daily bread. So Prabhupada said, they're praying for bread, they're not praying for God. They want bread. They want God to be the order supplier. Well, Sankirtan is not about an order supplier who fulfills my desires. It's about actually understanding our eternal relationship with Krishna as Krishna's eternal servitor. So now we're going to go on to the real point which I wanted to focus primarily on, and then if time allows, we'll go on to a few other points. And this could be said to be an indirect one. It's in the very beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, not very, very beginning, but in the third chapter. You can follow me if you have. I'll just get the torchlight on there. See, can you see me? Or is it reflecting too badly? I know there might be a little reflection. I'll move the book the other side. Bring it up. I don't know. Yeah, it might be a little bit better. There we go. So this is from the third chapter of the Bhagavad. Is anyone still there? Maybe you're all gone. There's still one or two there. Okay. Tell me if you want me to stop at any time. So this is from the third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, and it's the 9th verse onwards, just as a build-up. The 9th verse of the third chapter is quite famous. Some of you may have memorized it. Maybe you all memorized it. Yagyatat kamananyatra lokayon karma bandhanaha tadartam karma kontiya mukta sangha samachara. Memory and getting old. Work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction. In that way, you will always remain free from bondage. Yagyartha, done, yagya, it means done only for the sake of yagya or Vishnu. So this is another angle of understanding the Sankirtan yagya. We don't always add that to it, but it's the actual Sankirtan yagya, the Yuga Dharma yagya, sacrifice for Kali Yuga. And as Krishna says in the 18th chapter, also in the beginning of the 18th chapter, acts of charity, sacrifice, and austerity should never be given up because they purify even the great souls. It's a matter of that the sacrifice continues, but the actual nature of the sacrifice may externally appear different in each age, as with the austerities, as even the charity may be different also. In this age, charity is usually distribution of prasadam, is the best one. And the austerity, we follow regulated principle. We can't imitate the Himalayan yogi or the whatever, somebody who's in a previous age, very austere. Their austerity is to follow regulated principles, try to be regulated, and live the lifestyle of devotee as much as we can. And why? Because they should be performed for the satisfaction of Vishnu. Krishna is asking us to do this. No, we're not making it up. Lord Chaitanya personally has asked us to chant the holy name of Krishna and to live a pure life as much as we can. And that way one becomes freed of bondage. Again, a preliminary aspect of the Gita, but it remains throughout the whole Bhagavad Gita, performing one's work in that ultimately in the consciousness of Krishna, performing one's duty. So with Swadharmas, we have two Swadharmas. One is conditional, one's constitutional. So conditional Swadharma, according to the three modes, Chaturvarna, Maya, Shristam, Guna, Karma, Vibhadasya, and so on. We try to work according to our nature, as we heard earlier on. We said, what will repression accomplish? You'll be forced to act according to your nature anyway, Arjuna, even if you don't want to do it. You'll be forced to. So better do it, and better do it in consciousness of me. That way you gain, everyone benefits. Everyone benefits by a person who's acting in this consciousness, even those who have no idea. They have no, involvement, basically. But anyone who associates, knowingly or unknowingly, with somebody who is in Krishna consciousness is benefited. They're a walking Sankirtan party. Even if they don't talk, they're still living for Sankirtan. They're still living with that center point being Krishna, glorification or spreading of the name, form, pastimes, the glories of Krishna, his fame, and so on. But we'll read on a little bit. So that's the preliminary verse of this series of verses here. That in the third chapter says, work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. So again, it's similar, but it's not necessary with consciousness. offering the fruits of their work for the pleasure of Krishna is a prescribed duty. So we have, this brings us into the second type of Swadharma, which is constitution. So Sankirtan, or this teaching here, is to take us with what we are, whatever we are. It's not a problem. We don't have to change what we are exactly. We may have certain talents, we may have certain limits, we may have certain physical capacities, but that's what it is. We try our best to utilize that in the service to perform this yajna, to do everything we do for Vishnu. Yogavai Vishnu, he's the purpose. He actually, the word Yogavai Vishnu means that Krishna is himself Yogya. Proper performance of yoga according to Vedic directives are actually none different than Krishna himself. As the Vedas come from Krishna. And yoga is also recommended in the Vedas. By the performance of proper yogas, one may realize Krishna. This is the process given by Krishna. Same thing, Lord Chaitanya has given this process of Sankirtan, which will cleanse the heart of all the dirt and dust that we've accumulated, and ultimately will realize a relationship with Krishna. So the two together go very well. The next verse, text 10, Krishna says, "In the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods, along with sacrifices for Vishnu, and blessed them by saying, be they happy by this yajna, sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation." So that's the same line. Just perform this Sankirtan yajna, you'll become happy and attain. Because our liberation is not the type of liberation that most people think of when they hear this statement, which is personal liberation. We're not aspiring for that. If we only chant in Namabhas, it's said that we can attain that impersonal liberation. We can't attain prema. Prema is only attained when we chanting with full consciousness of Him, without any offense, Shuddha, pure. It's interesting that in this particular verse, I'll just read Prabhupada's purport to this verse, a little bit of it, and I'll comment a little bit what Baladeva Vibhushan says on this verse. Prabhupada writes about maybe halfway, a little less than halfway through the purport. The Prajapati is Lord Vishnu, and he is the Lord of all creatures and all worlds and all beauties and the protector of everyone. It's a prelude. The Lord created the material world to enable the conditioned souls to learn how to perform yajnas. We don't usually see it like that. We may see it as a place where we suffer or try to enjoy or something, but a place to perform yajna. Not many people see it like that. I mean, doing tapa or something. That word could be applied in terms of both authorized sakra austerities as well as suffering, but generally people don't think we're here to perform sacrifices, particularly for the satisfaction of Vishnu, which Prabhupada says. That's the purpose of the material world, to perform sacrifices for the pleasure of Lord Vishnu, so that while in the material world they can live comfortably and without anxiety, and after finishing the present material body can enter into the kingdom of God. We'll just assume that they're following the right yajna under the right direction. That is the whole program for the conditioned soul. By performance of yajna, the conditioned souls gradually become Krishna conscious and become godly in all respects. In this age of Kali, the Sankirtan yajna, the chanting of the holy names of God, is recommended by the Vedic scriptures. And this transcendental system was introduced by Lord Chaitanya for the deliverance of all men in this age. Sankirtan yajna and Krishna consciousness go well together. Those being conscious of Krishna and performing Sankirtan go well together. Lord Krishna in his devotional form of Lord Chaitanya is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam as follows, with special reference to the Sankirtan yajna. And some of you know this. You can repeat Krishna Varantu Shakrishnam Sangam Pangasta Pasham Yogyai Sankirtanam Prayer Yajanti Hisi Medasaha. That in this age of Kali, people who are endowed with sufficient intelligence will worship the Lord, who is accompanied by his associates by performance of Sankirtan Yogya. Other yogyas prescribed in Vedic literature are not easy to perform in the age of Kali, but the Sankirtan Yogya is easy and sublime for all purposes as recommended in the Bhagavad Gita. Interesting. And the commentary of Baladev Vidyabhushan also explains here that it infers that we should increase. Here it says, "Be thou happy," but to further the other angle of this particular verse, this text number 10, is that you increase the progeny of society. This by performance of yoga, they would increase the population. So he says that that's the another meaning of this word, yogya, in this particular case. And in our particular case, we can say it applies specifically. The Sankirtan movement is to increase. It's not just to self-perform, but it's to increase the family, increase the numbers of persons throughout the world engaged in Sankirtan. Lord Chaitanya wanted everyone to engage in chanting and dancing, so we do whatever we can. You may not be able to go out like we do in Europe or wherever you are. You may be in your homes or with your friends, online, whatever way you can do it. Try to increase the family of Sankirtan mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Okay, so that section, the Karma Yoga section there, is very, very relevant and very important. And of course, it goes on in this particular chapter to describe how important it is. I think, yeah, maybe here. We'll read one or two more verses, not so many. Of course, describing here. See, Prabhupada mentions the word Sankirtan many times, actually, in purports in this section of the Bhagavad Gita. You don't see it mentioned too much, but mostly the word Sankirtan comes up in this chapter 3. Lord Chaitanya, however, inaugurated the easiest performance of yoga, namely the Sankirtan yoga. It can be performed by anyone in the world, as Krishna says in the 9th chapter. Whether, I'm forgetting the Sanskrit, but it doesn't matter who you are, whether you're sinful, you're man or woman, Vaishya or Shudra, it doesn't make any difference what one's condition may be. Anyone who takes shelter of me can attain the supreme perfection of life, taking shelter of Krishna. So when we engage in chanting Hare Krishna, it doesn't matter who we are. Even Prabhupada says an animal can chant, to speak of humans, so-called humans. Anybody can chant the glories or the name of God. Anybody. This is the meaning of no hard and fast rules in chanting. Nobody is excluded. Anywhere, anytime, any place. Anyone can chant the holy name of Krishna anytime. Another little purport here, Prabhupada says probably the same thing. Yeah, therefore, in order for people to become happy in all respects, they must be taught, as Krishna says in the Gita, you will not be happy without sacrifice, without yoga. You can't be peaceful without happiness, without peace. They must be taught to perform the easy process of Sankirtan Yogya. Otherwise, there could be no peace or happiness in the world. Krishna says in Gita, there will be no peace or happiness unless we perform the prescribed yogya, which is varying according to the time, place, and circumstance. But yogya is not. In the details of yogya may. So in Kali Yuga, the Yuga Dharma for this age, Kali Yuga, Kali Kalara Dharma, Harinam Sankirtan is the yogya of Sankirtan, the performance of Sankirtan yogya. This is the only means, to eradicate all the ills of this age of Kali. The chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is the only sure way. Harinama, 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 Eva Kevalam, Kalona Steva, Steva, Steva. Gatiranyata in Kali Yuga. There is no other means other than the chanting of the holy names of Krishna. And so many references we could relate in the Bhagavad Gita to Sankirtan. There's one or two more here. My dear Arjuna, one who does not follow in human life the cycle of sacrifice, thus established by the Vedas, certainly leads a life full of sin, living only for the satisfaction of the senses. Such a person lives in vain. Certainly, we don't perform Sankirtan. What are we doing? Engaging in sin. Sinful life isn't just about, killing or eating meat or having illicit sex or whatever is defined in different shastras as sin. But it literally means is based on this very principle of seeing ourselves in the center, and particularly seeing ourselves as the body. All sinful, Prabhupada writes, this is the most sinful thing of all, is to think that we're the body. And practically the whole world is thinking like that. The whole Bhagavad Gita starts with the understanding we're not this body, we're spiritual beings. The Lord Chaitanya's movement is so wonderful that even if we don't have the Sambandha Gyan, devotees go out of their way, literally out of their way, and we'll see this in this third chapter. I mean, everyone must perform. There's a famous verse, isn't it? What's that verse? Whatever a great man does, common men follow in their footsteps. Or whatever by their exemplary acts, or standards are set. And I think it's in this chapter also somewhere, I think. But I can't find it on the spot. But we do find in this chapter, maybe we don't. Hard to keep up with it all. Oh yeah, here it is. Here's the verses. That we are looking for. Yadya charity shreshta tat karma. Eyatarojanaha. Yat pramanam kurute lokas taranvati. Text 21 of the third chapter. Whatever action a great man performs, common men follow. Whatever standard he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. The performance of Sankirtan, yagya, great action, performed, common men will follow. They want to be happy and peaceful. They see devotees happy and peaceful. They may all follow. And whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. If we don't chant how we expect others to chant, we have to practice what we preach, which is what this verse is all about, basically speaking, and performing one's prescribed duties. So the Svadharma, the constitutional activity, is this performance of Sankirtan Yogya, glorifying Krishna. And if you don't follow that, then people will follow, you have family, children, friends, anyone. If we don't practice what we preach, then it's not going to be very effective. And these are all, by the way, defeating the various arguments which Arjuna had used when he decided not to fight. So Krishna's one by one defeating those arguments. The effect, for instance, of not performing your duty of fighting would be disaster. Also, by doing that, you'll create unwanted population because people will not perform yajna. If they don't perform yajnas, then the whole society will become sinful. People with illicit sex, all these things will become prominent. And you will be responsible. If you as a leader don't perform your sacrifice, then you're responsible for others not following or not performing sacrifice either. So devotees, Prabhupada said, we all have this chance to be, some way or another, to be a leader, to be a guru, and to try to set the example of performing yogya, performing sankirtan, coming together whenever we can, chanting together, chanting ourselves, chanting our rounds, whenever the opportunity is, performing sankirtan in public. May be difficult in Pakistan, I would imagine, I don't know. But maybe in some congregational circumstances it's possible. Then a very interesting section, straight after that in the third chapter, Krishna says, as the ignorant perform their duties with attachment to results, the learned may similarly act, but without attachment for the sake of leading people on the right path. And the next verse, so as not to disrupt the minds of ignorant men attached to the fruitive results of prescribed duties. People in general, they may, if they do at all perform prescribed duties, not just whimsical ones, but if they perform prescribed duties, they're usually very attached. It's a materialistic practice, desiring fruitive results. So such persons are pretty fixed in their ways, Vedavadavatas or whatever they may be, of material benefits. A learned person should not induce them to stop work, however. Rather, by working in the spirit of devotion, he should engage them in all sorts of activities for the gradual development of Krishna consciousness. Now, it may not be so possible in our present-day society, so you could say institutionally to do that, but individually, we may be able to influence others in that particular way. And the best way is you just add something to your life, that's all. You don't have to, hijack what you're doing, but carry on with what one's doing and add the chanting or the process of Sankirtan Yoga into one's life as much as we can. And this is enacting this particular statement of Krishna. And he said we shouldn't disturb them. Prabhupada, as you may know, Prabhupada describes how a devotee is even more merciful than the Lord, because the devotee knows the desire of the Lord. The desire of the Lord is everyone goes back to Godhead. That's his desire. He speaks the Bhagavad Gita for everybody, to help everyone to progress gradually, if not immediately, towards that objective goal, Krishna consciousness. So that's the idea of the Sankirtan movement, is to bring reconnect everyone with Krishna. This is yoga. This is the highest of all yogas. We see in the 5th chapter, 6th chapter of Yoginam Prisavisham Magadena Turtan. Out of all yogas, one who abides in me with great faith, worshipping in love and devotion is the highest of all. Topmost yoga. So the performance of Sankirtan is the topmost yoga, is the perfection of all yoga, perfection of religion, perfection of everything, is to become absorbed in Sankirtan Yoga. And it's very easy, this difficult age of Kali, to perform this Sankirtan Yoga. In this way, people can add that. It's applicable. You even find persons who are not following them. By the grace of Lord Chaitanya, although normally this is not the case, and they may not have the proper understanding, any understanding at all, but many people are attracted to chanting the holy name. Unfortunately, most of them are following the misleaders. So it's even more so the devotee's opportunity to try to help them to follow the proper path of chanting Hare Krishna from the proper source, so they may get the current of mercy descending from the most merciful Srimati Radharani through the parampara disciplic succession to the receiver. Otherwise, it's like what we say, interference on the screen from somebody, and instead of getting the mercy of Radharani, one may get what they think anyway is their mercy, but some devious result, material result, or best liberation by such chanting. We have to receive the chanting, as Krishna says in the 4th chapter, the beginning, Evam Parampara Paptami Mam Raja Shod. Bhagavad Gita is based on this principle, how the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita is passed down through parampara. It has to be received through the right source. Similarly, the performance of Sankirtan Yoga and it from Lord Chaitanya. It wasn't chanted publicly before Lord Chaitanya. So he made it available to everybody. Now there may be many branches, maybe devious branches of various kinds, mixed with the practitioner's own concepts. But nonetheless, they've got it from Lord Chaitanya, so something is there, something along the line is there. But we don't want that type of distant Sankirtan. We want the real Sankirtan, not just staying a long, long way away. That will not cleanse the heart. That will not please Krishna. We want to get right into it and absorb our hearts in submissive, pure, anukulena Krishnanushyam, pure devotional service for Krishna's pleasure. We want to get right in there. And then Krishna goes, but he says not to disturb them, but the devotees, knowing Krishna's mind, that he wants everyone to go back to Godhead, and Radharani even more so wants everyone to go back to Godhead for the pleasure of her beloved Krishna. So Sankirtan is to actually, like a caravan, taking everyone back home, back to Godhead. Because that's what pleases Krishna. We're part and parcel. Again, when we hear this, Mamchi Yogabi, no, is it Mami Vakshi? Too many things going on. When you're very tired, it's hard to remember all the verses. How every living entity is my part and parcel, fragmented part and parcel in this way. May Mami Vakshi Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. But we're struggling. We're struggling in this world, terribly struggling with the mind and the senses. So therefore, again, easy process. Just whatever's going on inside there, whatever's going on outside there, whatever's going on elsewhere, chant the holy name of Krishna. There is no other solution other than performing this yajna. We may do other things to facilitate that, but in the absolute picture, this is the only means of extirpation or freedom from the ill effects of conditional life, particularly in Kali Yuga. There is no other way. There is no other way. There is no other way other than chanting the holy names of Krishna. So then we go on. See. One or two verses here. Yeah. Text number 29. Some comment? Maybe just someone unmuted. Bewildered by the modes of material nature, the ignorant fully engage themselves in material activities and become attached. But the wise should not unsettle them, although these duties are inferior due to the performer's lack of knowledge. And here Prabhupada confirms what we just said. In the purport, he says, men who are ignorant cannot appreciate activities in Krishna consciousness. And therefore, Lord Krishna is advising us not to disturb them and simply waste valuable time. But the devotees of the Lord are more kind than the Lord himself because they understand the purpose of the Lord. Consequently, they undertake all kinds of risks, even to the point of approaching ignorant men to try to engage them in the acts of Krishna consciousness, which are absolutely necessary for the human being. If they won't, you can't, otherwise people won't even get a human body in the next life, unfortunately, or whatever. Because they're not behaving like human beings, they're behaving like animals, practically speaking, just thinking of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, and every other form of sense gratification. So in this way, the devotees are more merciful because they're willing to undergo risk or suffering on behalf of others. It's the nature of the devotee. Their suffering is the suffering of others. That's their only suffering. They don't have any suffering on their own account per se. It's because others are suffering. They can't tolerate to see. It's like if you're a mother or a father, you can't tolerate to see your child suffer. It's unbearable. Imagine how Krishna feels. How people are suffering in this world. It's Dukkhalayam Shashvatam. It's a temporary place full of suffering. We don't belong here. It's a foreign place to the soul, out of our normal condition. We're so forgetful. We're so ignorant. We've forgotten who we are. We've forgotten where we belong.
So most particularly, it's not only in revival of 17th century now, but...
Pardon? Somebody made a comment. I couldn't understand what it was. Is it related or is it by accident?
Hare Krishna, Maya pronounced. It was by mistake, wasn't it?
Accident.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. If you have something to say or you want to correct me, please go ahead. And you just make it clear, that's all. I don't know how, I'm not a technician, I'm alone. I know everybody with me is also not particularly familiar with the techniques of these modern ways of communication, but we'll try our best to reciprocate. That's all I can say. Yeah. So again, so much in the Bhagavad Gita is acting in the right consciousness. And the whole cultivation of Krishna consciousness It's consciousness. It's not just the International Society for Krishna. It's the International Society for, or the International Society, of course, ISKCON means Krishna consciousness too. But it's the International Society for Krishna consciousness, not just Krishna or any other form of Godhead. It's consciousness of Krishna, being conscious of Him when we perform the Sankirtana activities. Now I've come to a point more or less where I think I'll just mention one or two more quickies. When we mentioned earlier on the word san, meaning complete, so it involves our body, our mind, our words, our intellect, and we can also hear that maybe in the 17th chapter, I don't know exactly where, how austerities of the speech, how austerities of the body, austerities of the mind, and so on. What does it mean? It means utilizing them in the right way for the glorification of Krishna. This is the best way when we perform Sankirtan. We use our tongue, we use our ears, we use our mind. We try to facilitate it with musical instruments and so many things. And we try, our whole body, so to speak, is engaged in Sankirtan. We may dance using our feet and legs and arms. And then afterwards, we perform another great yajna, prasadam yajna. We honor prasadam. In this way, all the senses are to be engaged in this way. This is Sankirtan, when all of our senses are engaged in the service of Krishna. There's another angle of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, how to engage all of our senses in the service of the Lord. Not just once a week, but always, satatam kirtiyanto mam, always chanting my glories. It's possible. And it's possible. Prabhupada writes about this. Jiva Goswami and the Sandarbhas writes about this. Rupa Goswami mentions, I think in Nectar of Devotion or somewhere, that in all our activities we should chant the holy name of Krishna. Not just doing activities and then doing kirtan or something, but even while doing our activities, we can chant Krishna's holy names. It's possible. This is yajna. Then our activities become, in of itself, they become a sacrifice for Vishnu. They become an offering, even without full understanding. They become an offering to the Lord. We're chanting at the same time. And the more we're selfless or Krishna conscious in our chanting, of course, the more you could say the reciprocation will be there from the Lord. The more He'll reciprocate with us in our activities, everything. And even if there seems to be externally some real problem is there, it's not coming. Why is Krishna, some of these people say, why is Krishna doing this to me? Doing what? To which me? He's not doing anything to the me. Maybe to the body or to the mind, but that's not me. They're just material energies. They're material energies. But we so identify with our mind and body, we equate that with being Krishna, with being, why is Krishna doing this to me? He's not. It may be our karma or what we need to do to let go, identifying with these false understandings. It's illusion. The soul is simply a witness, in one sense, of what's going on in front of us or in our minds. It's not us. So it's to help free us from this falsity. So when we chant the holy name at the same time, Jiva Goswami says this will help us to come off the false ego and not to see ourselves as a doer, not to see ourselves as the enjoyer. Like that. See ourselves beyond it. These things are going on. We're affected by it, but we also have to see ourselves above and beyond it. And this can in this age particularly, through chanting the holy name of Krishna, we can rise above these dualities of perception through chanting the holy names. We'll read one or two more things, and I don't know, they're not going to go in any specific order at this point of time. Let me see some things I isolated here. Of course, this is a very important one. In the 4th chapter of the Gita, and this, if anyone knows in verses, this is one of the ones that they often know. Paritranaya sadhanam vinashya chaduskitam dharmasvashitak. How's it go? Dharma sankstipinataya sambhavami yuge yuge. That to deliver the pious and annihilate the miscreants, as well as to re-establish the principles of religion, I myself appear millennium after millennium. That even Krishna comes to establish the Yuga Dharma. He appears in this world to establish the principles of religion, which means Yuga Dharma, and specifically age. And the Yuga Dharma, he appears as Lord Chaitanya to establish that Yuga Dharma, which is the chanting of the holy names. An intelligent people, Krishna Varnam Trisha Krishnam Sangam Pangasta Parshadam Yagya Sankirtanam prayer. Yagya Sankirtanam prayer. In this age of Kali, intelligent people will worship the Lord by the performance of Sankirtan Yagya. So he's come to establish that Yagya, millennium after millennium. Sometimes people say that, well, if God comes, he says, whenever the previous verse we hear, Hidaya Dahi Dharma Siklani Bhakti Bharata, whenever there's a decline in religious practice, an increase in religion, I appear to establish Dharma and to annihilate Adharma. So they say, well, if that's the case, why doesn't Krishna come now? There's so much crime and suffering, warfare, and hatred, and fighting going on everywhere, and so many problems all around us. Wherever we go, we see this going on. Why doesn't he come now? Good question. Well, he is here now. He's not here. He's here in this form, in this Namarup form. Namarup, Krishna avatar. In Kali Yuga, he appears in the form of also Namarup, the name. So when we chant Hare Krishna, it's actually Krishna himself appearing in this way to purify, to help purify the atmosphere, purify the consciousness of the world through Sankirtan Yagya. As people often in previous ages, even this age, they try, it was not very effective, to perform various kinds of Agnihotras and this thing and that thing, various Vedic sacrifices for the welfare of others, of the achievement of rain, of this, that, the other, so many things. But in this age, these particular yagyas are not so effective or recommended. In this age, the recommended yagya, Harinam, Harinam, Harinam eva kevam, kalonistyeva. In the age of Kali, these other ones cannot be effective. It's the Harinam, Harinam. The Sankirtan, the chanting of the Lord's holy names, is the Yuga Dharma. So the Lord appears in order to establish that Yuga Dharma. The Lord says that he incarnates himself in every millennium. This is Prabhupada's purport. This indicates that he incarnates also in the age of Kali, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam. The incarnation in the age of Kali is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who has spread the worship of Krishna by the Sankirtan movement, congregational chanting, and spread Krishna consciousness throughout India. He predicted that the culture of Sankirtan would be broadcast all over the world, from town to town and village to village. We have a lot to do. We have a great desire to go everywhere and perform Sankirtan. All of them, devotees are going all over the world on this basis and spreading this Sankirtan movement, spreading the glories of the Lord. This is so dear to the Lord. As we see, I'll read the verses. If we go right to the end of the Bhagavad Gita, we find these famous verses where Krishna says, for one who explains this supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed. And at the end, he will come back to me. That's verse 68 of the 18th chapter. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear than he. No one ever more dear to me than he. So this is the preacher. Now it says devotees, but actually, in one sense, everyone's a devotee. And it's the same thread again of the earlier verses we read about Krishna saying he doesn't want us to disturb them because he doesn't want his devotees to be put into difficulty. but a devotee voluntarily accepts that. This is sacrifice. Krishna inspired Arjuna to battle in Battle of Kurukshetra. It was not easy. It was difficult. Well, in one sense, it was a very battlefield, incredible battlefield. Arjuna took simply for Krishna's pleasure. So a devotee knows what pleases Krishna, a pure devotee. We follow the pure devotee, and he's asking us to spread this Sankirtan movement wherever we can. And even we're not asking you to do it in that extremity. But look at the Srila Prabhupada himself, how he went to the Western world, to New York, and the heart of materialism, and alone preached with no security materially at all. Preached the message. He would send devotees out. And after just a few days, when I was getting shaved up, when I joined, as mentioned earlier on, I got initiated in 72, but the beginning of 72, when I joined the temple, the devotee is shaving my hair. He asked me where I was from, some town in England. And he said, "Oh, very good. We don't have a temple there. Maybe in a few weeks when you get fixed up, you can go there and open a temple." I mean, it was like that. Prabhupada really, talk about the Battle of Kurukshetra. Devotees were going out all over the world, not just in their own country, foreign countries. One devotee was in Portland, and this devotee was the president, and he had to go to Los Angeles to get initiated. He was already the president. So he went to Los Angeles, and Prabhupada asked him to do something else. He said, "What about a temple?" He said, "Who's there?" Back to somebody or another. He said, "He can become the president now there." And then he gave him this. He became the new president. Then another devotee in Los Angeles. And in Malaysia, a consultant was mentioned earlier on about Malaysia, because in that little book you can read it, although it's not available to my knowledge. I mean, it is available in Delhi. They reprinted it. Somehow or other they reprinted it. Don't ask me how, but they did. Somebody did. Anyway, but in there you can read how when Prabhupada heard that there was a good perspective for Krishna consciousness in Singapore and Malaysia, he was in Allahabad in India, 1971, at the Kumbh Mela. And so he was with a big group of devotees, and he read this letter from Bali Madan, I think it was, Prabhu. And in this letter it said it was a great perspective, a great opportunity there, but we have no devotees, Srila Prabhupada. And so Srila Prabhupada, right there on the spot, he said, "So, who will go to Malaysia? Who will go?" And then it sat there, maybe 50 or more, 100 devotees or something. And one devotee sheepishly put their hand, "Yes, Prabhupada, I'll go." And another one put their hand up and said, "Good, good." Then Prabhupada said, "Come to see me afterwards." They went to Prabhupada's tent at the Kumbh Mela. And of course they were expecting maybe in a week or two after the Mela was over. Prabhupada said, "Very good, very good. So you want to go to Malaysia? If you wish, Srila Prabhupada." "Yes, okay." So when Prabhupada said, "Tomorrow, here are your tickets. Leave tomorrow." And they just had to leave Prabhupada's association and leave the Kumbh Mela and go straight to Malaysia. And the devotee, and Prabhupada got a letter from someone in Japan, and this person in Japan, he was just saying, hey, it would be nice if they come across the Hare Krishna movement, they had a book or something, how much it would be nice to bring this message to Japan. So Prabhupada took this as a cue from Krishna and said, yes, we must send someone to Japan. So they just discussed who might go, and persons were asked, selected, and then called into Prabhupada's room. So Prabhupada said, I want you to go to Japan to preach. It wasn't a question of time. Prabhupada said, here are your tickets. You're leaving now to Japan. Where to stay? No idea. One vague contact, that's all they had. No money, nowhere to stay, nothing, no books, maybe taking a few English books. That was the mood, really like a battle of and that's what it means, depending on Krishna, depending on the spiritual master. Yasyadeva para bhakti yatadevi tatavara. One who has this strong faith in the spiritual master and Krishna, everything will be revealed. And that's what happens on Sankirtan. Everything is the revelations. This is surrender. Krishna says 4:11. As they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path. So, yes, you can follow the path of the government in the prison, or you can follow the path of the government outside the prison. One is better, one is obviously different than the other, but they're both under the government. So you can be in material world doing your thing according to your nature, or you can do it for Krishna. Either one or the other. You're going to act. So better act for Krishna. The easiest way is to perform Sankirtan in this day and age, particularly. So there was going out, and you get so many realizations. As they surrender unto me, I reveal myself or reward them accordingly. You get so many realizations when we try to spread the message of Krishna consciousness. In the 4th chapter later on, Krishna also says to Arjuna how this knowledge, this wonderful transcendental knowledge, is the mature fruit of all mysticism. It's knowledge of the Gita. But the realization of that knowledge is another thing. And he says after that, that one who applies this knowledge in their lives realizes this knowledge in due courses of time. Very wonderful. We see in the 10th canto, what's that verse? Madchita Margadapana Mad. Anyway, whatever it goes on there. You have to excuse me. My brain is very tired and it's difficult to capture all these verses. We're trying our best to try to share whatever comes to the heart. So there Krishna explains how this, let's just look at it. Let's get it right. Let's not just clear around. 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Maybe text 9 something. Where are we? 10th chapter. Here we are. 10th chapter. Here it is. Machita magatapana bodhyantak parasparam katyantas chamam nityam tushanti cha ramanti cha. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. And if you ever come, we've just had a 4-day kirtan here in New Mayapur, not all 24 hours, but like 7-8 hours a day, and with a few, you may not have ever heard of them, but some good kirtan leaders from Europe. And we dedicated this to Agni Dev Prabhu, and one devotee just left their body here in France. Krishna Kirtan, nice name, Krishna Kirtan Devi Dasi. And so we dedicated that Harinam Yagya to them in the sense of gratitude and whatever. I'm sure that they went back to God anyway, but that's what we do. We remember them at least for our own purification. And after 4 days of Sankirtan, how you feel so enlivened and problems just fly out the window. They're just not there anymore. Differences of, duality or diminished, relationships become better, and, senses become easier to control. Satisfaction is there, so one has a higher taste, prundrishtva, navartate, and so on. It's very joyful, blissfully performed. Dancing, singing, burning up her, passions and so on. Very happy, very happy. And you feel that Cheto Darpanam, that effect of the holy name cleansing our hearts and satisfying our needs. It's the king, this Sankirtan movement. What's that verse? Cheto Darpanam Arjunam Bhava Mahadavagni Nivarpanam. Let's see. Shaya Koyava Chandra Kavatam. Anyway, it's the fruit of all knowledge. Yeah? It's the result of knowledge that we're absorbed in Sankirtan. This is the effect of Bhagavad. If we understand Bhagavad Gita properly, then we'll be absorbed in chanting Krishna's glories. And when we chant Krishna's glories, we also realize more step by step the essential teachings of Bhagavad. They go hand in hand. But either way, to understand our relationship with Krishna, and to awaken our dependence on Krishna, our love, our attachment to Krishna, our love for Krishna ultimately, through the performance of Sankirtan Yajna. Let's read something else. We'll pop back here to the, how are we doing? We're almost finished. I guess that one wasn't to be there. Yeah. Could have had a 5-minute break. No, we're not going to mention many more, maybe one or two more. And if there's any questions, you can ask. Yeah? Well, it's the fruit of the Bhagavad Gita is the actual fruit, is the Paribhashya Sutra. It's not the fruit so much, but the key verse, the most essential verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Mantra yoga vicharana bhakti yogena sevte. Sugunan samatityatam brahma bhuye. No, I did get on to that one. No, I got the wrong. Manmana bhava madbhakto. Excuse me. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskru. Mame vaishisi satyante pratijanapiyosi me. Always engage your mind in thinking of me. And there's two verses, one at the end of the ninth chapter, one in the 18th chapter. Let's just look at one in the 9th chapter. We don't hear it so much. It's the same, basically. Engage your mind always in thinking of me, become my devotee, and offer obeisance unto me and worship me, being completely absorbed in me. Surely you will come to me. So we're going to become absorbed in Sankirtana, absorbed in chanting Krishna's glories, chanting his names, chanting his pastimes, as much as we can. Try to hear and chant the pastimes of Krishna from Krishna book or from Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. So many opportunities we have. So many opportunities. And that's the fulfillment of this statement of Krishna. This is the Paribhashya Sutra, the essential verse of the Bhagavad Gita here. Essential verse. And let's see. I'll jump that one, I think. I just enjoyed myself making a few direct and indirect references from Bhagavad Gita to Sankirtana last night, I think. There's another reference which is indirect. Well, this is direct, but it's not direct when the word Sankirtana. He mentions japa, and this is in the 10th chapter, text 25. And this is another practice of Sankirtana, is to see Krishna present everywhere. Not that that's Maya, that's not. But to see how Krishna with Maya is to not see Krishna present. It's not that these things are Maya and these things are not. Everything is Krishna's energy. It's just how we see it. So one who's actually practicing Sankirtan sees everything in relationship with Krishna. And Krishna gives us so many clues in the 9th, 10th, and 11th chapter, particularly, of how to understand his presence in everything that exists. No matter what is in past, present, and future, everything. So this is a nice verse. He says here, of the great sages, I am Brigu. Of vibrations, I am the transcendental Om. Of sacrifices, I am the chanting of the holy names, japa. Use the word japa because the word is mentioned here. Japa yagya. Yagyanam japa yagya smi. I am the chanting, I am sacrifices, I am the chanting of the holy names. Like that. So he mentions it there also. The sacrifices, I am the chanting of, I am the chanting of the holy names, not of sacrifices. It is the chanting. I am that chanting. I am that yagya, japa yagya. So we should remember this when we're chanting. Krishna is actually present, and he'll reveal his presence according to our surrender to him. Let's see. More. What is it? Where are we at? 6:13. Okay, I'm going to probably finish there. Oh, here's a good one. I'll just finish on this one. This is in the universal form. It's text 33. Krishna says to Arjuna, it's a verse we don't hear much, but it's a really good one. We hear the last line only usually. Therefore, get up, Krishna says to Arjuna. Get up. I should get up myself. Prepare to fight and win glory. Conquer your enemies and enjoy a flourishing kingdom. Try to put this in the light of our practice of devotional service. Jeev Jago. Come out of the darkness into the light. Get up, wake up, sleeping soul. Prepare to fight, perform your duty. Let's perform our practices of devotion and win glory. Through the performance of devotional service, one can attain all perfection. Conquer your enemies. The enemies are in our mind. In the case of Arjuna, they were on the battlefield, you could say, and enjoy a flourishing kingdom. Like this particular case, Krishna's referring, of course, to the kingdom which was usurped from them by the Kauravas. But in the reality of the term, the flourishing kingdom is a spiritual word. Let's get up. Don't become disheartened. Stand up. Fight for Krishna. Prepare to fight. Win glory. Become a hero. Conquer your enemies in the mind. Prabhupada said the best way to conquer the enemies in the mind is to think how to spread Krishna consciousness. It's there. I don't have it in front of me, but it's a quote that Prabhupada gives. They are already, and enjoy a flourishing kingdom. That flourishing kingdom is the Sangha of devotees. We want to make it flourishing. And if we really put in Krishna in the center, Krishna consciousness will flourish. Simple as that. Because everything's done by Krishna. They're already put to death by my arrangement. And Yo Savasachin can be but an instrument in the fight. Nimittaya, nimitta matra bhagya Savasachin, Krishna says, just be an instrument in this fight. So there's a battle. We just have to offer ourselves, like Arjuna did to Krishna, to fight the battle of Kurukshetra. We have our battle of Kuruksetras too, within our hearts, outside of our bodies, everywhere. The same principles. There are doubts, obstacles, fears, and so on, constantly face us. So we take shelter of Krishna and fight for Krishna on Sankirtan Yogya. Hare Krishna, so thank you very much. So maybe you'd like to ask one or two questions or not, it's up to you. We can hand over to the host, I think. Let's see, where are we here? I don't know. Where's our host?
Speak. I'm the
Where's he
host now.
gone?
Yes.
Who's the host?
Now it's me, Maharaj.
It's me. Where's me? Who's me?
Damni. Okay, my camera is turned on.
Damini? Damini is the
Yes.
host?
Yes,
Okay,
Maharaj.
where's our other host gone? He's gone to work or
Bimla
something.
Prasad Prabhu is gone, yes. He will be there.
Hare Krishna. So, Damini, what would you want us to do? Are there any of this, some questions or anything?
Yes, Maharaj, we have.
I left 15 minutes.
Haripriya Radha, Dasi.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances.
Hare Priya Radha. Are you in Pakistan?
Yes, Maharaji.
Oh, wonderful. Karachi or where?
Hyderabad.
Oh, okay. Hare. Please share your kindness with us.
Maharaji, first of all, thank you so much for this wonderful session. Before asking questions, I want to ask you, please share some of your experiences or realizations with Prabhupada related to Kirtana. Sankirtana, sorry. Please share some of your realization experiences.
You want a really heavy one? You want to hear a really heavy one?
Sorry?
You want to hear a really heavy one?
Yes, sure, Maharaji.
Okay. Well, I can give you one really, really, well, I don't know which one to give. One in Malaysia, one in Uganda. I think you don't know. Anyone from Uganda? Anyone been to Uganda?
No, Maharaj. Please go with both, Maharaj.
Which
Share
one should I give?
both of the experiences, please.
One of you may not believe either of them, but I can tell you they're true. That's all I can say, but you can believe me or not believe me. It doesn't worry me the least. Okay, which one should we tell? What time of the day is it there? It's getting late, isn't it? It's a bit scary to tell these stories. Ooh. Are you ready for something scary?
Yes, Maharaj.
You sure? A midnight movie. Okay, I'll tell you the Malaysian one. The other one is another time. The Malaysian one. Well, there may be more than one, but this is I'm going to cut a very long story. It would take a whole chapter in a book if I were to write it. But this is just the tail end. One devotee, young devotee in Malaysia. This is going back to 1980, probably 89. Probably 1989, probably. Something around that time. this young boy, he was a very unusual character, to say the least. Say unusual, but he was, okay, no, I'll go back a bit further. He wasn't so unusual. But then somehow he started becoming very unusual. He suddenly became like a person possessed. And he was speaking things that no child his age would have even heard of, what to speak of no. Mathematical formulas, statements about history which he'd never heard in his life, languages which he'd never spoken, all kinds of things. It was a really strange experience going on here. Anyway, one thing and another, he started to get even more and more strange and weird as days went by, and he became completely out of control. And I'm just cutting a very long story short here. So he was living in the temple at the time. He was part of the devotional practices to Vrindavan. And one senior devotee from Vrindavan was there conducting the camp. And this was happening simultaneously. It was really difficult. So we know what to do. So we had to take the boy out somewhere. We managed to convince him to come with us. Took him to someone's house and sat him down. And he's like looking at us in strange ways. We were having kirtan all around. And he's looking at us. Hare Krishna, I can chant Hare Krishna too. He's going like this. Ha ha ha. And it was really weird. I don't want to go into all the sordid details. But I had quite a few experiences there. Really kept deeply chanting, but he was not changing in any way. And anyway, days went by, 2 or 3 days like this. And then I had to go to a program somewhere, so I left that scenario. And I drove up the highway, and I won't tell you what happened driving up the highway, but it was quite extraordinary what was happening. Anyway, I got to this one place, town in Malaysia named Ipoh. You probably never heard of it. It's and I had to stop overnight. It took me 7 hours for a normal 3-hour journey to get there. I never could find out why, but it did. So I got there like midnight, and next day was a program. So I got there at midnight. I went to take rest. I laid down. Have you read the chapter regarding Dhruva Maharaj and the Yakshas from the Bhagavad Gita? Some of you may have heard of this. Maybe you've read it. It's in the Srimad Bhagavatam. You can look at it if you want. It's a long story how Dhruva Maharaj was confronted the Yakshas, who were mystics, kind of ghostly mystics, and how they created all these illusory situations, horrendous situations, to try to let's say disarm Dhruva Maharaj, completely scare him to death. He wasn't bothered. But and anyway, I laid down and boom, it was just straight out of the Bhagavatam from Dhruva Maharaj's pastime or something. We're just faced with every kind of demoniac energy you could think of, practically speaking. I quickly jumped to my feet and ran down to the temple room downstairs. It was a temple I stayed in overnight. There was no one else around. It was midnight. They were sleeping away. And I ran in the temple and sat in front of Lord Nrsingadev. Luckily, I had actually gave this picture to the temple a week before. They had this big form of Ugra Nrsinga from Mayapur. I sat in front of that big poster, chanting and I've never chanted in my life. And I was just chanting, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And it was like boom, boom, boom. I was being beaten and thrashed and attacked and screaming. Oh, it was like a nightmare all around me. The doors were rattling, the windows were rattling, the chains were like your chains going and screaming and all sorts of things going on. And I was like, what on earth is going on? I had experienced one thing like this before, but never like this as a devotee. It was an incredible experience. And I just sat there. I didn't know what time it was. I had no concept of where I was or anything. I was just chanting and chanting. And every time I became inattentive in the chanting, I could feel like something was taking over my body. And I'd go, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. And boom, it went down again. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. And this went on. I didn't know the time. And then at 4 o'clock, ding, ding, suddenly the Pujari came downstairs and opened the doors, and it was time for Mangalarti. But just at that moment, everything stopped. But it was like 4 hours like that. And it was one of the most powerful experiences of my life. And you may say, well, why is that happening? But I'm glad it happened. I was so glad that happened. I'm being a neophyte, so we weren't so pure and transcendental to it all. But I could see, if they just relate this effect, not just to some mystical, ghostly, whatever thing going on there, but to everything in our lives. When material desires rise up within us, when doubts rise up within us, when inimical things take place in our lives, when problems face us, which they do daily, practically speaking, whatever the diversion is, that the only solution is to deeply take shelter, not just, but to actually really depend upon Krishna. The essence of this, it was actually, this is, I remember now, the point which really trying to change. I got to the real point where it said, I am helpless, Krishna. I can't do anything. I can try chanting, but I can do nothing more. If you want to send me to hell or maintain me in this condition for eternity, what can I do? I completely let go and said, do what you want. And then boom, everything went away. Everything became peaceful and calm again. So it's again related to what we were saying of when we really take shelter of the holy name, not just chant it with an intention, but actually surrender, helpless. No, nothing we can do. Hope against hope. We take shelter of the holy name. Not try to use the name to achieve a purpose, which we may do. So when that experience came to the point where I realized there's nothing I can do other than try to surrender, and Krishna took everything away. And everything became peaceful, calm, and normal, so-called normal. So that was one experience which relates to everything else in one's life, to be honest. These worlds, all of us are faced with daily challenges, momentary challenges, in fact. It's a dangerous world, samastriti padapalava plavam, mahapadam punyashomara. At every step there is danger. We shouldn't take it. Now, the follow-up to that little incident was that the next day I had a phone call from the place where that original boy was. They had brought in a ghost, what they call them, ghostbusters. You may not believe in this. That's okay. I can understand that. But this is what they did. They brought a ghostbuster in, very well situated one. And he really worked on that young man. And actually I was there when they brought him in. They brought him in before I left. And just memories just coming back clearly. And I was sometimes up all night with this ghostbuster and this boy. And the ghostbuster was talking to him in languages I never heard. And bartering with him, to try to get him to leave that body, to get the ghost out. Anyway, this went on, I guess, after I left. Now, the ghostbuster then took the boy. He actually managed to convince the boy to come with him. He took him to his home. And then I had a phone call from the devotee who was liaising the whole thing. And he said, Prabhu, I was grihast at that time, he said, Prabhu, are you okay? I said, fine. I'm really happy. Why? You sure you're okay? I said, yeah. Why are you asking? I don't. He said, well, he said the Ghostbuster said that yesterday that ghost had followed you up the highway to that town. So that was a reconfirmation that we're surrounded by this. It's not just some thing in history. We are surrounded by this. The whole world is like this. We're surrounded by, it doesn't look quite so striking or quite so vivid as this, but we're all surrounded like this, day in and day out. Our minds, when we sleep sometimes, God knows what happens. When in our daily lives we're tempted by this, dragged by this, disturbed by this, in the mind as well as our senses, never ending. We just have to keep chanting and try to depend on Krishna. Perform our duty and depend on Krishna. And Krishna will reciprocate, step by step, little realizations come. And something to stay with us and to relate to our present situation. We may not get that, obviously, very often, if at all, so vividly in our lives. But, we can read about it. You're more intelligent. You change your life by hearing. But there's 3 types of learning. One is by hearing from others, simply by hearing. And then by seeing from others. And then by having to experience it one yourself. So I'm one of the 3rd category. I do experience it a little bit at least. Still, I haven't learned my lessons, but still it was something quite dramatic. The one from Africa, I have no time to tell. That's probably, in one sense, even more dramatic. So these things are going on. We may believe or not believe. That's our choice. But the Bhagavatam says they're real. Prabhupada says they're real. What more do you want? If we believe in Prabhupada, we believe in Bhagavatam, then these types of things are there. Ghosts do exist. And the reason why that ghost went for that boy is a ghost called a jinn, a particular type of jinn. And jinns, this particular breed of jinns at least, cannot cross over water. The boy had been the ghost had been residing in the boy's body for a long time, but as soon as the boy was about to fly over to India, then the problem really manifested externally. And then trying to stop the boy from going to India, or stop that body which the ghost was residing in going to India like that. So then as the battle came on, of course, I was kind of responsible in a sense for the arrangement for the boy to go to. So they kind of went for me like that. That we have to take shot. Krishna is stronger than any demon, jinn, call it what you may in this world, any material temptation, everything and anything, Krishna is stronger than that, more powerful than sex, more powerful than everything that we face with. Prabhupada sometimes, Mr. Lust, who attacks everyone in the universe, or Cupid, Mr. Lust, Prabhupada would say, Krishna is much stronger than Mr. Lust. Much more powerful. He's, we may Madam Mohan, but he's Madam Mohan Mohini. We take shelter of Krishna. Chant the holy name. Or Radharani is Madam Mohan Mohini. She conquers even Krishna, who's a conqueror of Cupid. So we take shelter of the holy name. Hare Radha. Hare Krishna. Krishna. Hare Krishna. 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 Hare Hare. Radha and Krishna together. They're our only shelter. Was that okay?
Thank you so much, Maharaj. It was truly heavy and deeply touching.
Pleasant dreams tonight. Anyway, if so, then that's what's meant to be. Just chant Hare Krishna, don't worry. Krishna
Maharaj, I want to ask some questions.
That would
Maharaj,
be the last.
as you said that we should sing or perform kirtan for the pleasure of Krishna, not for our own pleasure. But when we sit for kirtana, how can we practically maintain this consciousness throughout the entire kirtan? How can we continuously remember and stay in that mood?
Even one minute. Isn't it so wonderful when you sometimes have this chance? I mean, I don't know, sometimes during the kirtan we had, I just put myself out. I sat there as long as I could. I hadn't actually danced practically for months. I'd been a bit under the weather. But I couldn't, I just somehow I got up during the last hour kirtan couldn't resist, and it just flowed. It just flowed. Just let go and let it flow. Just let go. Just let the holy name take over. Let the spirit of the devotees, in the association of devotees, it is possible to have that focus. Don't forget, the name is Krishna. Krishna is not the name of Krishna. It's Krishna himself in full. And the holy name. And in the association of devotees, chanting with all their, just try to chant with all you've got, when we dance, let go, and just try to, I'm just giving a very simplistic foundational aspect here. Just try to let go and just try to just like enter into the sanghas, the devotees who are chanting Krishna's name. So that's one aspect. Another aspect, we're doing it under the guidance. Prabhupada talks about this a lot, and Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj does too. The process of chanting properly, which ultimately is for the pleasure of Krishna. There is a process, and there are many aspects of the process of chanting for the pleasure of Krishna. And it primarily means chanting under the direction of the spiritual master, the pure devotee of the Lord. Even if we don't have that level of realization, you are situated in the boat of Sankirtana. And that boat is in the direction of pure bhakti, or the lotus feet of Krishna. It's directed towards Krishna. Why are we doing it? I mean, we don't initially join this Sankirtana movement because we want necessarily, maybe we do, but the performance of Sankirtana isn't initially for that. We may have all kinds of material desires and what have you, but when we're following the process given by the pure devotee of the Lord, if we follow that pure devotee's direction, you'll gradually, or we will gradually proceed along the path. It's the same thing if you say, I want to go to, now you're in wherever you are, Allahabad, or whatever it is in Pakistan. If you want to go to Karachi or Lahore or something, Islamabad, wherever you are, it's there's a pathway. You don't reach there right away. But if you don't follow the path, you won't reach there. You won't attain that goal. So our goal is to please Krishna. So we follow the path of somebody who is pleasing Krishna. You follow the path of somebody who knows the way to Karachi. And if they're bona fide, and if you stay on the path, you'll reach Karachi. So if you follow the path of the pure devotees of the Lord, it's too much to talk about the details in this session like this. But they're there. They're there in the Sangha of devotees. They're there in the practices which we've been given. They're there in the scriptures. There are so many opportunities are there in so many ways. And if we follow that path, then gradually this transformation will take place. But rest assured, the spiritual master is very pleased when he sees you honoring Krishna Prasadam. He's very pleased when he sees his disciples, his followers, happily dancing, chanting kirtan. He's very pleased when you attentively hear the Bhagavad Gita, study the Shastras properly, in proper association. He's very pleased when we render some kind of service. And if the spiritual master is pleased, Krishna's pleased. It's very simple. It's a natural thing. We can't imitate or impose, I'm going to satisfy Krishna. You do it. If we follow the spiritual masters, automatically, we can't jump over this factor. It's not possible. The whole process is through those who are pleasing Krishna. Prabhupada says you please a man through his dog. So you please God, and do not say that the pure devotees are dogs by any means. Of course they're not. But the example is given there. By pleasing them, we please Krishna. We do everything we can to find out how we can please our spiritual master. Even in dancing, sometimes Prabhupada said it gets ecstatic, it gets out of regimented order and what have you. That's another thing. But generally, we dance the way that will please our spiritual master. We sing the way that will please our spiritual master. We sit the way that will please our spiritual master. These questions are asked by Arjuna. And it's basically revealed by the pure devotee of the Lord. We take that which pleases, we eat that which the spiritual master would like us to eat. Health reasons may, of course, have some differences, but in general, we try to do everything on that, based upon that principle. And kirtan being the foremost activity of the Krishna consciousness movement. is like that too. It's not a performance. It's actually an offering. As we offer our food to Krishna, we try to offer the chanting to Krishna on the altar of our hearts. The heart is like the altar. We try to offer, see that, to offer whatever we have little. We're not maybe good chanters, we may not be good pronouncers, we may not be very good at anything, but we offer whatever we can on the altar of our hearts to the Lord. Like that. Just takes time, and we have to remember these things. It's a little mechanical in the beginning, just like our japa. You're trying to concentrate. You're not spontaneously attracted to the holy name. It's not that we're all saying, I want to chant japa. No, it's often, I have to chant japa. I've got to finish my quota. I've got a duty. This is mechanical devotional service. But it starts with that. And the spontaneity comes by the mercy of the Lord through the agency of his pure devotee, by trying to follow this pure devotee's directives. That by the grace of Krishna, our hearts will change, realizations will come. Remember, and naturally you'll want, devotees feel that. Everyone feels it from time to time. How grateful, how fortunate, how wonderful Krishna is, how kind he is. You'll start feeling some positive feelings towards Krishna. And your attraction towards the name will naturally grow. And there's an attraction towards the name because it's Krishna himself. You want to offer yourself to Krishna. Not Krishna, give me this, Krishna, do that. But you want to offer your very existence to Krishna. You want to let go of all these other intentions and only desire Krishna's pleasure, or Radharani's pleasure in our case. That's what brings the most pleasure to Krishna. Please, Radha, through the parampara. Okay, I've got to go, I'm afraid. Thank you all so very much for patiently hanging in here. I don't know how you hung on for 2 hours and 20.
No, Maharaj. We thank you, Maharaj, for tolerating and bearing with us.
Oh, you're back.
I'm sorry, Maharaj.
Back online.
I had to bail out. Brahmachari ashram, brahmachari ashram problems, Maharaj. My room just got flooded.
Oh, you were a brahmachari?
Yes, Maharaj. That's why I had to change my clothes and clear out all the water. Sorry, Maharaj.
You still got
You
brahmachari
understand?
clothes, have you? You didn't put on
Yes,
grihastha.
I'm from Delhi, Maharaj. So.
Oh, you're from Delhi. Oh, Bimala Prasad from Delhi. Okay, that's what
Yes,
brings.
Maharaj. Rasparan's friend, Maharaj.
Oh, now I'm putting 2 and 2 together here. Oh, wonderful. Got flooded out.
Yeah, Maharaj. Actually, I was. The fact of the matter is, I was so absorbed in the class, I forgot that the tap water is open. And it's only when the tap water hit my knees that I get to know that, oh my God.
No way. Oh my God. You're almost
It was so absorbing. That's a fact, Maharaj.
You're drowned. Phew. What happened in the class? I drowned. I hope you drowned in the ocean, ocean of water.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. On behalf of all the students, let's shout to 3 big Haribols for Maharaj. Haribol, Haribol, Haribol.
Haribol, Hare Krishna.
Haribo.
You ever been in a real flood? That's another adventure.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna, Maharaj. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
I've been in earthquakes too, big ones. That's another.
Oh God. That's the power of the holy name. Somewhere it's flooding, somewhere it's
almost in
cracking.
front of the firing squad. They were just about to shoot me dead one time in Africa. Escaped by the skin of my teeth. Got so many wonderful experiences, which really help you in your Krishna consciousness if you take it rightly. Otherwise, they drive you away from Krishna consciousness.
Maharaj, devotees like you are our heroes. Actually, it's a fact. Whether you like it or not, whether you believe it or not, whether you accept it or not.
An example of what not to follow, if that's any use.
No, it's a hero.
Sincere thought. Are you all blessed? Many of you are Gopal Krishna. Anyone a Gopal Krishna Maharaj disciple?
Me,
And
Maharaj.
Gopal
Just
Krishna,
me.
yeah, if you were a Krishna,
Just
Gopal Krishna Maharaj follower, disciple, aspirant, or whatever we were. Anybody? I thought in
just me.
Pakistan, who initiates in Pakistan? Do you do that, Bimal?
There are no, yeah, Maharaj, there are no, at present here, there are no Gopal Krishna Maharaj disciples
Oh,
in this assembly. I am the only
oh,
one.
oh, okay. But I'm sure they
Yeah.
all know about Gopal Krishna Maharaj.
Yes, Maharaj. That's a fact.
Maybe they would be aspiring if he was still with us. I mean, he is,
Yeah, couple
yeah.
of them were aspiring also. We
Yeah.
are here at this assembly, we have got disciples of Loknath Maharaj, we have got disciples of Radhnath Maharaj, of Jayapataka Maharaj. So they are here. But
Very
yes.
good. Very good. Well, Gopal Krishna Maharaj is one of the greatest heroes who ever stepped on the planet. Such a devotee.
Jai.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable soul. All of those you mentioned are, of course, as he's no longer physically manifested before us, but he's such an everything about him is amazing. And he
Yes,
really
Maharaj,
deserves.
the maximum foundation for Pakistan preaching, like right after the Kirtanan Maharaj fiasco, he was the one who was instrumental. So past 15 years, Maharaj, the revival of the Pakistan Yatra, all credit goes to him. That's a
I think
fact.
that coincides when he asked me to go to Pakistan. I didn't go, so I didn't get any benefit from not going, but I had to go somewhere else. I had enough places to
No, Maharaj,
go around
but you are here. The fact of the matter is you are here.
France.
Like
Yeah.
online, you are here. Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Maharaj ji,
Right.
please visit Pakistan.
Yeah, I'll see
We
what
will
That
life may be.
look forward for your physical association. Please, Maharaj, consider our
Are
invitation.
you
actually,
able to go to India? Are the devotees able to visit Delhi and Vrindavan? Are they able to go?
No, Maharaj, we can't. But you are all welcome to visit Pakistan.
Hare Krishna. Where are you able to go to?
We are able to go to USA,
Oh, USA.
London, but not India. But not India.
No.
anywhere but India.
Most places you're able to go with a visa. Is that right? I guess. I don't know. Yeah, that's where the way the world is coming. Everywhere it's like that now. It's not just with you. It's in many places, visas for every, even to go from Europe to England, you have to get a visa now. You have to pay for it. You apply for it, pay for it, go through the immigration, all this, that, the other. And everywhere's becoming what to do. That's how it is. But we need the visa to go back to Godhead. That's the real thing. Those gates are not closed. Our heart is closed. We have to open our hearts. Open our hearts, and Krishna will reveal himself. And, welcome you back into the kingdom of God, our real home.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thank you all very
Jai.
much. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Maharaj.
Thank you all.
But all glories to Janananda Goswami Maharaj, Janananda Goswami Maharaj ki Jai.
Jai.
Srila
Bye.
Prabhupada ki Jai.
Bye.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Krishna,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare. So I know you can't do it there in the towns or cities you're in, practically speaking. You can do it in Dallas. I'm in Dallas. So no one's going to stop you going out, dancing and chanting in the streets. But at least we can dance in our hearts, dance in our homes, dance in our assemblies, chant as much as we can. Dance as well as chant. Krishna likes to dance. When we chant the holy name, if you dance, it's said that, well, I can't remember all, boys. So many different examples are there. But when a devotee dances, no, has it? Oh, yeah, well, I'll just start with somewhere. Okay, when they glance around, when they dance, you simply look around, you chant, everyone around you is benefited. When you put your hands up, all those in the upper planets are benefited. When you dance on the ground, all those down below are benefited. And it said that, I can't remember, what was it? When you lie down and chant or something, Krishna comes near you or something. And when you, I don't know. And anyway, it goes up when And eventually, when you really let go and you sing and dance, and Krishna embraces you. It goes along those lines. So dance is, don't just sit idly. If you can't dance, so be it. But if you can dance in your heart, but if you can literally dance, try to dance too. It's part of it.
Maharaj, sorry for interjecting. Would you mind watching a few of our like Pakistani preaching videos? The reason I'm saying that might inspire you to come to Pakistan. I'm trying to lure you in.
You want to give
Allow
me
me to lure you in.
another experience to write in my memory books or what?
No, I'm telling you, like you will be pleasantly surprised by what's happening in Pakistan. It's
I
just the
don't doubt,
propaganda outside, but
I don't doubt
it's
it for a moment, I'm saying, because I know the sincerity and the love that you all have, and Gopal Krishna Maharaj's purity and dedication there is coming through, and amongst, of course, others too. Over the decades, different devotees have done, given their lives, even right back to 1971, I think, when Brahmananda came there. And, Prabhupada was practically crying in ecstasy when he saw him, when he came from Karachi to Mumbai. Prabhupada embraced him, and Prabhupada was practically crying that he'd gone there to try to preach. So now some wonderful plants are growing, some wonderful flowers are growing from the teeny weeny little seeds that were sown. So yes, but I mean now, why don't you send them to me?
Yeah, I'll send you, Maharaj, like I'll send to Raspara and he'll forward it to you.
Yes.
The
Is
big
this
Rath Yatras.
Dasa Brian to blame for this, or who's to blame for this?
To blame for what, Maharaj? The situation?
Huh? Blame because you had to have my association for 2 hours or more. Who's to blame for that?
No, Maharaj. He's too, yeah, but he's got all the credit. So I'll pass it on to Rasparan, and he will maybe send you some of those clips. You might have a different opinion about Pakistan. I can assure you that, Maharaj. That's
Well,
like,
yeah,
that's my pitch. That's my
I
pitch to invite you.
I don't have any perception or any concept whatsoever in terms of negativity or anything like that. It's just I never thought of going to Pakistan. But please send them, and that's
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj.
at
We are
least I
highly obliged.
feel the
Highly
love
obliged.
of Prabhupada and all the devotees there. Thank you.
Thank you,
We have
Maharaj.
one more last question. Can we take?
Hare Krishna. I have to go now. We'll see you
Okay.
again. Hare Krishna. Glories to Prabhupada. Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. His Holiness
Hare
Janananda Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, that was it. Thank you everyone for your kind participation. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.